right, hello, hello, hello. Welcome in. We're here. We've got some amazing TDM6 Rex lined up. At least one lined up for now. But I'm planning on doing 2 or 3. We'll see. We'll see where the sets take us. But yeah, welcome in. I'm excited for where we're starting. And we've got good options for where to go after that. Coco, hello. Hello, old friend. How is it going? I want to say it's been a long time since I've seen you around, but I see Coco around many places in the Age of Empires community, so I can't say that. Happy New Year. Yeah, that's right. Happy New Year. Still cold, at least where I am. Every time I load up stream, I think, should I take down these holiday borders and whatnot? But I think I'll let everything thaw outside my house before I get there. Fiending on content recently. That's what we like to hear. That's what the streamers like to hear at the very least. Fiending on content. There we go. Yeah, my streams don't line up for everybody, that's for sure. I understand that for sure. My perfect stream is when like most of my viewer base is asleep because they live in other countries or other parts of the country or whatever. But it is what it is. I gotta cater for the tiny slice of Eastern American viewers that really like to stay up late. It's not just people from that side of the country, it's from people from that side of the country that also like to stay up late like I do. That's my key demographic on these streams. Alright, let me get us over to here. So we're starting out with boOmstik and Ullah, Division 2. I'm really excited to see what this looks like. We didn't on my channel, but in this tournament we saw Ullah perform very well against Leaf earlier this week. Leaf was looking like a very strong member of this group, had beaten Otter early on, and then was it KD? No, not KD. He's Division 1. Can't remember who Leaf's second. I'm blanking on who Leaf's second that was against. But anyway, Ullah looked really, really strong against Leaf. Oh, is this the... How many... Maybe I'm thinking Leaf's played more sets than he has. Oh no, okay, yeah, you're right. It was boOmstik. You're right. So yeah, Leaf was looking pretty strong, and then Ullah looked even stronger in his set. So I'm excited to see what Ullah looks like here. boOmstik, a really strong player, so I'm excited to see what this looks like. Welcome in, everybody. boOmstik, hello. Otter, Nat, hello. How's everyone doing tonight? Today, tonight, this morning, whatever it happens to be where you live. It's not the morning yet for you Europeans, right? It's just super late in the night. Moltar, boOmstik, strong player. Well, everyone's a strong player compared to me. So what are we talking about? Let's get the map draft going while we're doing this. Yeah, boOmstik with a C, not nearly as strong as boOmstik without. Absolutely. Alright. Let's see how much of gamers these guys are with the map draft. Good start. Sunburn and Immersion. Those are two... Well, Sunburn has been very entertaining. Immersion, and I'm still undecided how much I like Immersion this season. But we've gotten a couple really good games on Immersion in the past week especially, so I'm warming up to the map a little bit. Everyone, yeah, true. Everyone is a player compared to me. Good or bad, they are a player in comparison to myself. Immersion and Shoals for Ullah, so going the water route, but bans hyper random, interestingly enough. I guess I always think of hyper random as like a pseudo water map, but that's not necessarily what it is, right? I like these maps a lot. Outcrop is fun. Sunburn's really fun. I always like the water maps. If hyper random could have been the last pick, it would have been the perfect draft for me, but instead we're going to get Fez or Ackeray. Okay, Ackeray. Not bad. I like it. I like it. Interesting. This is going to be a difficult Civ draft. Because... boOmstik, thank you for the subscription so much. I appreciate that. Thank you, thank you. It's very kind of you. This is how I make all my money streaming, is I blackmail people by casting their sets. So Sunburn is super aggro. Immersion is also quite aggressive. And then water on the side. Shoals, water. Outcrop is a very particular kind of map. It's more of like a map control kind of map, but aggression can be rewarded there. And then Ackeray is super fast, usually. We have seen a couple long Ackeray games. We have seen a couple. So I can't call it... I'm warming up to that map as well. I was not super hot on Ackeray, because every time I saw it, it was like 10 minutes long, and then someone just elephant rushed, and that was the end of the game, but... we've gotten a couple pretty good mid-games out of Ackeray at the very least recently, so... It's your first non-prime sub? Oh, thank you. That means so much to me, boOmstik. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I am a great choice for all subscriptions. Not really. That's absolutely a lie, Otter. My streaming schedule is not generally what I would suggest for people to actually spend money on me, but I very much appreciate when people do, so thank you. Alright, let's get on to the civilizations. Where are we? There. So we're going to need quite the mix of civilizations here from these players. A couple water civs, a couple aggro civs. Mobility, I think, is going to be at a premium. And then something for Ackeray. So let's see, no Jurchens, no Mongols, no Cumans. Spanish is a huge ban for this map pool. No Slavs. Bengalis are chosen on Ackeray sometimes. Pretty big admin bans, honestly. Like, besides Khitans, we see all of these civs sometimes. Obviously, Portuguese, Ethiopians, Hindustanis, not the best, but Goths could even be kind of an important ban here with how aggressive these maps are. So, we do still have the Chinese out there and the Turks, if we're talking water civilizations. Persians are still out there as a very popular Ackeray civ, but let's see what the players want to get rid of. Woo always banned? They really are. I don't know what to think of the Woo. They're banned out every time. Either admin bans or the player bans them because they don't have the DLC or they don't like the DLC civs. Occasionally they make it through and they get sniped. Like, I don't think I've seen the Wu actually make it through a draft once this tournament so far. Big time player bans here though. So we might see some interesting civilization choices by the players. Because they are taking out the heavy hitters with these player bans. We do still have... I'll wait until this last ban here. Okay. So it should be Chinese on both sides, and then Berbers are still out there. Turks are still out there. Is there anything else that's a super obvious choice? Not really. So much has been banned out, right? Persian, maybe Persians, honestly. I wouldn't hate a Chinese Persians double draft. Okay, well, those are the civs I just named. boOmstik elects for the Berbers, and it is the Persians for Ullah. So, I don't mind any of that. I think that all makes sense. The question is, what do the players go for now? Now what's left? Turks are still out there. Dravidians are still out there. There's the Turks. I think we should see Dravidians drafted here at some point. Just because so many civs have been banned out. I think they probably do see a draft slot here somewhere. Gurjaras. We've seen the Gurjaras do pretty good things on Sunburn. I actually kind of like the Gurjaras on Sunburn. It depends on the civ matchup, as always. But I do think they could be worth a draft here. Vietnamese isn't bad. Burmese, yeah. Like, a lot of these maps can be elephant maps, right? We see elephants on Outcrop a fair amount of time. Ackeray often is elephants. Sunburn can be, and Immersion can be if you don't want to play water super hard. Inca? Okay. Now we're getting into the spicy civs. Now we're getting into some spicy choices here with the Inca. Okay. Alright. Malay are still out there. Malay are kind of a good budget pick for Immersion sometimes. There's the Gurjaras. Oh, Malians, of course. How could I forget the Malians? The Incas were picked before the Malians. Alright, interesting. And where do we round out from here? We might see Inca played for once. Oh my goodness, boOmstik is cooking. He's got the Inca and the Aztecs. Alright. We're gonna see at least one underutilized Mesociv here from boOmstik. At least one. Now we have to. Khmer, oh yeah, that's not a bad final pick at all. So I think you probably should snipe out the Chinese here if you're boOmstik. Ullah, I'd be tempted to get the Berbers, but it's probably just double Chinese, to be honest. Persians wouldn't be a bad choice. But I think if you snipe the Persians here as boOmstik, it doesn't end up good for you. Yeah, double Chinese snipe. Alright. Classic. That's a classic snipe. Double snipe there. Incas are basically an anti-elephant civ. Incas are basically an anti-elephant civ. Strictly because of I'm showing my RMer brain. Inca don't get SO, do they, or do they? Why do I think they don't? Yeah, they don't. So it's just like Kamayuks? Okay, interesting. Hey, if we see mass full Kamayuk into mass elephant, I will not complain at all. Not in the slightest. So I think this, even though I'm iffy on the Aztecs and the Inca, I do think this draft ended up pretty good for boOmstik. Has by far the best water civ remaining after the Chinese and Spanish got sniped. So that feels pretty good for Shoals. Berbers are maybe the best civ on immersion. Like, generally, I think I like Ullah's draft more, but for the map pool, boOmstik kind of has the heavy hitters for some of them. It gets a little. We're gonna have to cook some stuff up in the back half of this draft, but I'm curious. I'm excited to see what boOmstik goes with. Gurjaras can also be good on immersion, that's true. But are Gurjaras good against Berbers, though? Probably not, right? Well, maybe. I guess they have better camels. They're slower. They're much slower. But long term, it probably shouldn't be too bad for the Gurjaras. I do think I prefer Gurjaras on Sunburn, though. I'm not sure what... It might end up being like Malians for Sunburn, right? And I think the Gurjaras feel pretty good against the Malians. It's going to be interesting, yeah. I think if there's an advantage I give Ullah here, it's that I'm not as sure where his civs are going, right? Like I just said, Turks almost certainly are going to be on Shoals. Berbers really feel like an immersion pick. You've got like some options when it comes down to like Sunburn, Outcrop, Akare. What is boOmstik going to pick for Akare? All right, we start off with Akare, right? So let's start there. Persians, I think, are the best civ on Akare right now, though there are some other contenders. So I think it probably is going to be Persians for Ullah, but Khmer could be an interesting pick there. Vietnamese aren't terrible. Maybe you can sneak like a Burmese on Akare, but I'm anticipating elephants, right? So then, if we're anticipating elephants, if we're saying Inca are an elephant killer, maybe this is where we go Inca. Kamayuks are the best unit you can make as the Inca. You start with the castles. I don't hate that. I don't hate that. Let's see. I think I'll predict that just because I don't know what else you would want to pick here as boOmstik. Maybe like a Teutons. But I think it's probably Inca. You could also mind game as Ullah here and not pick the Persians. Persians are good on most of these maps, right? So you don't have to pick them here. If you think you have something else that can beat the Incas. I don't know what though. I'll say Inca Persians, but let's see. Let's get into game one. BZ and Breslin showing up at the same moment with almost the same message. Mass DM brain in action there. There we go. Welcome in. Alright. You've arrived at just the right moment. I do need to, however, around my capture age a tiny bit. And I guess I'm going to have to switch up a player color here, right? That's one of the few color combinations I cannot abide by, is the double blue. And that's all good. All right. Well, welcome in Game 1, boOmstik versus Ullah here on Acre. It is indeed the Inca for boOmstik, so we called that one, but we were not expecting the Romans from Ullah. So, like we said, there were some opportunities here for a bit of mind games for Ullah. Romans not civ I usually think about for Acre, but maybe they're not that bad, right? You do tend to want to mix in some Centurions. Starting out with the Petards, so does want to break through these walls very quickly. And Centurions are on the way, Legionnaires are on the way. And on the other side, how does this matchup feel? Kamyuks shouldn't be terrible against these units, right? Although I don't think I've ever seen this fight actually happen. I guess the bigger thing is that Inca don't have SO. So if the Romans want to go Scorpion, that's kind of a problem. Kamyuks take good fights to begin with, as Ullah is checking to make sure boOmstik's not expanding to the outside wood too quickly. Now, this is where I'm less confident that this is going to be a good a good fight for boOmstik. The Legionaries are extremely powerful infantry units. They should body the Eagles. Slingers. Wow, wow, wow. Okay. This is going to be an interesting one. We have to go Slinger Kamyuk for boOmstik. I mean, that's tough to pull off, but I think that's probably the correct choice. I don't know if the Eagles are providing too much here. Obviously, they're the mobile unit for boOmstik, so it's never a bad thing to have units that can actually run around a little bit, but they kind of get dumpstered whenever they have to take a fight. We do have Ullah. I like the early awareness for Ullah. He's camping military at key points on the map, right? The question is if he can take a big fight. He's got the Scorpions coming out. He's got some Onager coming out behind as well, so a rare case where neither DM Civ actually gets Siege Onager. Kamyuks don't really want to wade in underneath the castle, underneath the Scorpions. The Eagles in choke points take a lot of damage, but they are still alive. Looking for villager snipes. And they could find quite a few back here. This castle won't be denied, but there are a lot of villagers out here building stuff, and that's going to be at least 2-3 dead villagers should be. That's good damage at the same time. Centurions looking for Vil picks on the other side. Don't find any as they run into Inca castles. But, alright, let's see. Theoretically, Roman Scorpions don't do terribly against regular Onagers, but if you get enough Onagers, it's still not a very easy fight to take, right? So Ullah's going to have to try and run in, snipe with, I guess, cavalry. Can't really dive underneath all these slingers now that they're on the field. Man, this is an insanely micro-intensive fight. Both players have like 4 or 5 different units on the field, and they're all having to try to get them into fights against different units from their opponents. It's actually stressful. Castle does fall here for Ullah, though. boOmstik might end up losing a castle of his own. Maybe 2 here, actually. Both players are really trying to fortify that middle stream. Double stream. Nothing being produced there yet. Kamyuks are laying down their lives here. But you know what? All the legionaries are dead. How's the resources looking? boOmstik is out of gold, which is kind of an issue for the really any Meso Civ. But Ullah's not too far behind, and is kind of struggling on food now as well, right? Centurions are quite expensive, both on gold and food, so it's an expensive composition. But yeah, the villager count, as Otter is pointing out, is much higher for Ullah, so despite resources not looking great right now, should be able to get himself sorted a little bit faster. Obviously, Roman eco also just a little bit better. 86 villagers is pretty good. That's another fallen castle for boOmstik. And the legionaries are just really tough to deal with, man. It doesn't feel like the Kamiyuks are taking good fights, right? They have the little bit of extra range, so pathing is not as difficult for the Kamiyuks, but the legionaries are just so strong. Couple Centurions mixed in helps out a lot. The Slingers are great against the Legionaries, but they do virtually nothing against anything else. So it's really tough to use them effectively. Even in RM, it's extremely tough to use Slingers effectively. I can't imagine in DM. And it looks like Ullah has claimed the middle strip of water, is fighting onto boOmstik's homeland. boOmstik is trying to expand, but isn't the best place to set up a new home for yourself. It's gotta be said. Now the Rams are coming in. That's another castle down. boOmstik's used all of the stone that you start with. TG has to be called. No answer to the Roman siege and legionary mass. This is GG now without Slinger, says Otter. What a sentence to read, and it makes perfect sense. Makes perfect sense. I don't think I've ever read that sentence before in my life, but it's true. boOmstik went for the counter pick, maybe. I'm a little sad I didn't get to see the Inca in action against an Elephant Civ, so I could actually see them doing well, but I think this was a really smart play by Ullah. And I marked this backwards. All right. Against one of his 4 ally civs, yeah. Chances were extremely high, even if it was a random choice, that boOmstik was going to load into that game against an Elephant Civ, but did not happen. All right. Ullah gets a point. That was the Romans beating the Inca. Still, all else being equal, stronger civ used by Ullah there. So I like the attempt, the attempt at a counter pick by boOmstik, but Inca probably not providing a ton of value on a lot of these maps, right? So not the biggest loss, civ-wise. Is it 5? 1, 2, 3. I guess, yeah, if you count the Gurjaras as elephant, right? That's the Romans are the only civilization Ullah has that does not have elephants. Crazy, actually. That does mean Ullah keeps the Persians open. So maybe you can use them on, like... I don't know where you slide the Persians in now after that. Alright, I'll have to think about that. Let's see where we're going next, though. Maybe Inca Arb? Inca Arb would have been better. You don't really want to go Arbalest against Roman Scorpions either, though. But I guess that's not really something you can think about as the Inca, right? Because literally everything they make is bad against Roman Scorpions, except for Onager. So yeah, maybe it would have been a better composition once But honestly, I didn't know what Kamyuks would do against Legionaries. Did you guys know that that was going to be a bad matchup? Or is that so rare that you don't know either? Because I don't think I've ever seen those two units fight before. Boom will have to go Aztec Monks if he wants to win the series now. Will he? I think probably Aztecs should not be chosen here if we're being objective with ourselves. Carry Me or Die, we had that matchup a lot. Really? Interesting. Okay. I'm surprised the Inca were chosen a lot in Carry Me or Die 1. I don't think we saw them at all in Carry Me or Die 2, did we? Yeah, the Legionaries have such big bonus damage, right? It's so tough with the Kamyuks for me to decipher how good they are because you can't just look at their stats, right? So much of their capability is in their range and the ease in which you can maybe micro them or how much they can take fights at the same time. So it's always tough for me to know what they beat and what they don't. All right, we're going to Shoals for game 2. So, we're anticipating Turks here for boOmstik. Maybe this is Persians for Ullah? Persians are a good water civ. Is there any other civ here that feels good for Ullah? Not really, right? Maybe like a Vietnamese? Gujaras have a pretty good dock, but I think they're too slow most of the time. So I think I'm anticipating Turks, Persians. Turks versus Vietnamese. I could see that. Gurjaras are one of the fastest civs? How can that possibly be true? They have no bonus for speed. Their units are fast. Shrivamsha and such. But they aren't fast to get going. Are they? What am I... Alright, Otter, what am I forgetting? What weird... camel creation? Yeah, but who cares? This is a water map. I don't care about their stable. I'm talking about their docks. I don't care how fast they're producing camels. But alright, maybe. You just try to play it out as a land map. Hope you can do damage early on with your early cav as the Gurjaras. And prevent the Turks from just crushing you with water superiority. Yeah, maybe. Alright, let's see. Let's see. No, apparently I know best. I'm using this as an I told you so moment. Welcome in game 2, boOmstik versus Ullah. We are here on Shoals, and it is indeed the Turks for boOmstik up against the Persians for Ullah. So, as I said, I like these early walls around the Ville for boOmstik too. Too many people lose villagers on these forward docks. Way too many people lose villagers on these forward docks. So I like that a lot. Ullah, much slower to get out to the docks, but will not lose a villager at least to the Hussar. So Turks, as I said, they're pretty much far and away the best water civ that was left available to these players, but Persians aren't bad. They have a full dock. They don't get shipwright, which is kind of an issue. but they have all their units. Ooh, this is a little unfortunate too. A classic docking in your demos moment here for boOmstik, but I don't think any more can eject here, so there's an argument to be made here that you just leave these two here and keep producing, I think. Sometimes it makes sense to delete the dock. I think maybe not so much in this case. Camel opening on both sides. Neither of these civs have any camel bonuses. So they're somewhat lackluster. That's a nice Vil snipe out on the dock finally. Oh, I'm wrong. Another demo has found its way into this pit of death. Hopefully not too many more do, as docks are now coming up on both sides. We already have two of those Turkish cannon galleons on the field. And it's Janissaries for boOmstik. Okay. Not too much out in front of the cannon galleons just yet, as Ullah is going Halb, Persian galleon, which isn't the best. I did say they have full upgrades, but they don't have bracer, right? So their galleons aren't amazing. Demos. Don't really want to waste the demos on the camels. You want to use them like that against the cannon galleons. Nat dislikes Turks on immersion. That's a spicy take, I think. That's a worthwhile message for Twitch to hold, though. That's an incredibly spicy take. Twitch is trying to save you, Nat, from these takes, getting out into the open. They're definitely not Chinese, right? And they're probably not the Spanish either, but I think I like Turks otherwise. Turks do struggle sometimes on land. It depends on the matchup a little bit. And honestly, they're struggling a little bit to keep up with the demo production. A little bit of a bait here from the Turks. You want to get the cannon galleons out, right? Because that's the unit that you're picking the Turks for mostly. But sometimes it just comes down to demo production. Turkish heavy scorpions is not something we see very often, but there are elephants on the field, right? So I think Ullah is going heavy elephant on land and then just try to hold on water, I suppose. He's got units circling in, but not the elephants yet. I actually don't know where these elephants are. There's almost 20 of them on the field. I guess they're slowly trickling out in this direction. Okay, there's one out here. Castle's denied on the top. TC didn't... Never mind. That's an Ullah TC? That's crazy. That's crazy. But okay. That TC's denied as well, to be fair. It's just not denied for boOmstik. As we have villagers pathing across the water. Trying to go from the north to the south, I suppose. This TC, I don't think is going to be saved. These war elephants do a lot of damage to buildings, so they do kind of count as siege weapons. Now this is a boOmstik denied TC in the south, as the elephants have arrived. Where are the scorpions? They're here. They're lying in wait. Surprise. We prepared for this. Scorpion camel should do pretty well against the war elephants here. But they are finding damage in the meantime. At the same time, boOmstik has pretty much won water at this point. Has to be a little careful. These halbs will do a lot of damage if they get in on the cannon galleons. So you can't just leave them on the amphibious terrain. But all the elephants are dying to the siege. I think this was a really smart decision by boOmstik, teching into the scorpions early. Sometimes if you get too focused on water, right, you don't pay attention to land, and if these elephants show up before your response is set up, it can be really tough. This TC was saved in the end. boOmstik trying to get the eco sorted. It's a heavy economic lead for Ullah. We saw this a lot in his set versus Leaf, right? Ullah just really good at macroing behind the initial DM openings. He's losing all of his docks, though. This is another Persian bonus, right? It takes a little bit longer for the docks to go down. I don't know if this is where the elephants want to be, but it feels even worse to have to send your elephants back across the map, so I guess they're just going to come in here. Elephants on both sides. I think Ullah's playing this correctly. The question is it enough if you lose water? Water is so important on shoals. And yeah, that's not gonna be the way for these Flappy boys. It simply is not. And this should... it's not going to be pretty with just camels, but I think there's enough camels here to push this back. Still, boOmstik is on the back foot on both sides of the land, so Ullah's taking pretty good control over these side golds, but you can't take a lot of this gold if water is totally lost, so I like that Ullah continues to dock around the side here. Lost some docks at the front, but continues to dock around the sides. I think that's correct. Camels. Oh boy. How's that bonus damage treating you, boys? Not too good. That was one elephant for about 20 camels. Not the best. Not the best fight in the world. And still denying TCs with random camels. Ullah's playing this really well. I feel like Ullah's draft forces his own playstyle onto the series. He definitely has a good command of the draft, right? He knows what he wants to do and seems to kind of know what his opponents want to do often, and it all comes together in a nice way. Man, I don't know. Ullah's up to 150 villagers. Might be a bit of an overboom, but if you're mainly war elephants, you don't necessarily need a ton of them, I guess. You can afford to be a little overboomed. Both these TCs will be taken out, I believe, as the Scorpions are moving forward on the bottom side. It takes so long for these elephants to die in the base, you know? They're just parked underneath TCs, killing villagers as they come out. Really stymies the villager production here from boOmstik. Alright, surprise! I'm still on water, says Ullah. Here comes the demos. Clear up a lot of navy for boOmstik, who now has to try and reassert water dominance while defending on land. Where are these villagers going? Okay, castle here. I don't mind that. I don't think, unless these demos come in. But it's fine. There's so many villagers there, it doesn't matter. Turkish galleons, okay. I mean, it's 116 total population to 200, right? Obviously a lot of villagers for Ullah, but the numbers don't lie. Elephants also don't lie. They've cleared up all these TCs and killed villagers. They're going to kill this castle. And war elephants are just crazy, man. What can you do against such reckless hate? The market goes down. That's massive. Most important building in the game. This is another TC that's probably going to go down. I think it's already too low to garrison in, so these villagers have to run down here. I do like that boOmstik has taken some map control here. The elephants still really can't do anything with the Scorpions, I don't think. We've lost quite a few Scorpions over the course of this game, but I think there's still enough here to force us back. Ullah might have to go cannon galleons, yeah. Elephants are taking out docks, even. Who needs a navy when you have elephants? Elephants eat buildings, they do. Yeah, Savar would be really nice, wouldn't it? boOmstik is pushing in the south, though. Has a couple of trebuchets. And has all the gold he could ever want. Only 88 villagers, though. 73 to 7 eco KD. And the Janissaries do not do well against the elephants, it's got to be said. I don't think Janissaries are what we need to make here. They get literally stampeded by the elephants. Demos, though. Okay, that's nice. That's good value. That's good value right there. That's what we like to see. Ullah still isn't really on water. He just has a couple cannon galleons out here. Yeah, that was a masterful bait with the Janissaries, actually. You make a unit that gets really hard countered by the unit your opponent is making, and then you lead them onto the water with it. It worked perfectly. Ullah is making those Savar that Otter was calling for not too long ago. Maybe does need to delete some villagers if we're getting off elephants now. It feels like there's just not enough population space to do everything here for Ullah, right? He's trying to kind of contest water still. He's trying to get a push going down here. Raiding would be nice to be able to do, and you can't do all of those things off 50 military population. Alright, here come the Rams. Choo-choo. Elephants down in the south, Rams up top. And Scorpions trying to take a fight against the elephants. They cannot take a fight against the Rams. The Savar should do quite well against the camels as well. And they'll do better against the Scorpions. I'm not sure how much better. It's still a lot of Scorpions, right? But the Rams will do well against the Scorpions. That's a lot of Janissaries, actually. Why did we make so many Janissaries? Castle. First castle falls. Second castle, I think, will fall as well for boOmstik. That's a really nice pushback for Ullah, who now... I mean, I can't really say either player has water control, which is good for Ullah, who is redocking in the north still. Should have picked Aztecs. Get him out of here. There's just a line of dead Janissaries whenever they stop to take a fight. The trample damage by the elephants is so overbearing. I think boOmstik's dead, and boOmstik agrees. Calls the GG. Ullah goes up 2-0 early on in this series. It was really well played by Ullah. It was really well played. Turks don't have the best answers for elephants on land either, right? They only get mangonels. So really the only thing they have against elephants is scorpions. Ullah, masterclass of how to do this though, right? I see a lot of players try to like overpower on land on maps like this, which is what happened here. This game was won because of land, but Ullah didn't ignore water, right? He fought on water. He always was contesting water at the very least. Probably never really cared about winning water, but you have to make your opponent at least invest in water so that boOmstik can't sit here with 12 cannon galleons and sit here with 12 and sit here with 12 and suddenly the whole map is inaccessible to you. So Ullah threaded the needle really, really well in this game. boOmstik didn't really... I didn't clock any major mistakes from boOmstik except for maybe too many Janissaries. I think this was just really well played by Ullah. Better start too. He didn't get Navy out quicker, did he? boOmstik had multiple docks up before Ullah was even building docks. But I guess once he committed to the docks, Ullah got a lot of them up. Whereas boOmstik kind of was working off a smaller amount of docks at first, so probably equalized pretty quickly. Yeah, around minute 10, I believe that. Yeah, it doesn't help that boOmstik's, maybe even two of boOmstik's docks here were producing into the void either. That didn't help early on in the naval battle. That's the one tricky thing about it. Happened sometimes on Silver Swamp last season too, right? Sometimes the shore just generates in such a way that you can't really get it right up against the shore, so it's tough. All right. Well. Oh, I forgot to mark this for Ullah. But that is a win on shoals. We're not done yet, though. Persians get the win over the Turks. And we're getting into some interesting... I mean, we've already had some interesting Civ matchups, but the mind games continue, right? We have some very interesting Civs left available. Let's see what our next map's gonna be. Gonna be Immersion. Okay, so should be Berbers from boOmstik. Are we thinking Gurjaras from Ullah? He doesn't strike me as like an elephant all-in kind of player, despite this crazy draft. So some players might go like Burmese here, but I'd be surprised. Vietnamese aren't bad on water. And Vietnamese actually stack up fairly well against Berbers on land. What other maps are still here? Outcrop and Sunburn. Ooh. I don't mind Vietnamese here. Berbers versus Vietnamese. Yeah, early Vil kills on shoals is really important. I noted boOmstik was doing a really good job of keeping the dock villagers safe, which is the first huge thing, right? If you snipe the dock villagers, that's massive, but any Vil kills are big. Aztecs versus Burmese. I don't know, man. I don't think you can sell me Aztecs on Immersion. Maybe boOmstik's even more of a gamer than I was anticipating, but I can't fathom a world where you pick the Aztecs over the Berbers here. Berbers are so good on Immersion. They're so like I can't. It's hard for me to say enough how much I like Berbers on Immersion. Their land is really good. Their water is really good. The faster villagers are really, really good to get to the water. Like, they have so many good bonuses for this map. But I guess... Alright, well, let's see. I said, what did I say? I said Berbers, Vietnamese, right? Let's see. But do you want a Berber versus Burmese? I don't think it's going to be Burmese here. I'm not an Ullah expert, but I don't get that vibe from him. Alright, let's see. Okay, well, kind of right and kind of wrong. Welcome in, Game 3. Ullah versus boOmstik. We are here on Immersion. It is the Berbers for boOmstik. It's the Gurjaras for Ullah. It is the Gurjaras. They only get regular cannon galleon. They don't get fast fire ship, and they don't get dry dock, but they have an okay dock still. Berbers, like I said, the speed to the middle docks is massive here. See if any Vil snipes come in, but I don't think we're going to see too much damage by the opening scouts. Docks up early for boOmstik. Camels looking for a Vil snipe. Won't find it there immediately. Ullah seems content to just not worry about the water. I think maybe that's a good idea as the Gurjaras. You're never going to beat the Berbers to that middle pond unless your opponent is really asleep at the wheel. Is thinking about docks now. There are already demos out, so that dock's not going to happen, but maybe this one can come up, as boOmstik has bigger issues to worry about for the moment. One villager snipe for Ullah. Castle does complete. It's going to be a little bit more difficult to dive. Okay, get out of the way. 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 There we go. Docks did go up for Ullah. That's a little bit of an oversight for boOmstik, but like I said, you're having to think about a lot of other things right now, right? It'd be nice if you could have denied those docks, but probably not viable. And the Gurjara camel spam might just be too much here. It's only been 2 villager snipes so far, so it's not as much damage as I would have expected, considering the camels are just literally everywhere. There's a third. Second castle will complete for boOmstik. But this has really stymied the expansion, right? Behind this, Ullah has TCs going up all over the place. Castles. The classic immersion castle forward on the middle pond. Demo's finding some value here, but that military count is just so disparate. A lot of camels. It do be a lot of camels, though. Cannon galleons are out. Stinky regular cannon galleons. No elite. But you know what? They're doing the work here. Kind of. They are eventually killing these docks, which I guess is the work. Nice demos. Camels are being cleared up. But there are plenty more where that came from. Still lots of res in the bank for boOmstik, though. So if there's one bright side, it's been a sweaty opening for boOmstik, but if there's one upside, it is that the resources are looking a bit better. Really needs to get that eco underway, though. TC's going up now. Barracks. Oof. We're going to be making Berber pikemen, which always feels a little rough, but it is what it is. Also, just like Gurjara camels are so strong, you know what I mean? Like, it's tough to take these fights. They don't do amazingly versus the camel archers, but they are much better than the Berber camels. So you can just overwhelm. Also, you gotta be careful about the demos. Camel archers trying to snipe cannon galleons. You cannot lose camel archers here. If your camel archers die, you die, as the Berbers in this matchup. So you cannot allow that to happen. Here comes Ullah. He wants to kill. And that's just a lot of camels for the Gurjaras. Doesn't want to commit underneath the castles, though, so he's going to back up. boOmstik is getting decent map control behind this now, getting more TCs down, so maybe the eco can start to develop, but 54 to 20, Ullah is just so quick. Getting those villagers out is kind of nuts. Yeah, Ullah doesn't want to lose all of his camels, right? Oh, those are good demos, though. Really don't want to sit on the shoreline here for boOmstik. If they wedge in like this, this is a bad fight. This is a really bad fight for Ullah. There's no gold left, so if you lose all these camels, things could get a little spicy for you here as Ullah. Also, I like the raids. Forces some camels back, but there's 82 camels on the field right now for Ullah. So I don't know how nervous he really needs to be. Regular cannon galleons getting pretty good damage in on the camel archer mass as well. Sniping bombard cannons. Okay, this is I can't look at where my TCs are going down for very long TC. Camels maybe catch out the camel archers a bit here. Camel Archers would win there, but maybe not cost effectively. There are some demos in this pond. That was a great demo. Beautiful demo. At the same time, though, right? 80 camels. They're down to 60, but there's still a lot on the field. So while that fight is happening, they can come in the north. Some nice raiding in here. You don't want to split up your camel archers too much, though, is the issue, right? And boOmstik is now making Hussar. Ugh. Against the Gurjaras feels real bad, man. But we need something that doesn't cost gold. 87 camel archers is a lot of camel archers. It's got to be said. I'd prefer them up here for right now. They're not getting tons of value down here, losing some to the castle and the cannon galleons, but trying to micro up in the north. Ullah wants the castle up here to secure that gold, and I think he can get that up. 65 camels. He has kind of taken his foot off the gas pedal a little. Has been reticent to take fights against the camel archers, right? So that's allowed boOmstik to actually get the villager count up decently. Still behind, but is stabilizing pretty nicely here. But, well, let's see. I say map... I was almost going to say Ullah has better map control. That's not really the case, because he hasn't expanded at all in the south. Cannon galleons and camels show up. Let's see how we feeling about this fight. Man, it's so tough. It's so tough. Demos land again. So I love the micro here by boOmstik. Keeps drawing the camels back. The treb did go down. That's not the biggest issue, though. boOmstik's pop capped. Ullah is not, for the first time today, really. boOmstik has the population edge. Sniping cannon galleons down here. Still decent shots into the camel archer mass. Oh, don't go too far forward. You have to really babysit these camel archers. I don't know if this is worthwhile either. As the camels roll forward, I guess they've only killed Hussar for the most part here, so that's fine. Berbers can throw away Hussar all day long, right? Not a big deal. And villager count is ahead for boOmstik. Gurjaras maybe don't have the staying power they need here. It was a great opening for Ullah, but seems like he just can't find a place to take a fight. I don't love diving back here, though. This is half of the camel archers. If they all die back here, it's really bad for boOmstik. I think we were doing fine just kind of microing at the front with the camel archers, right? I don't know if we needed to dive through. This is good damage, though. The camels got lost. That's real nice villager snipes. Down below 100 is Ullah. Oh, but we gotta pay attention. Okay, great. Amazing. boOmstik, I'm counting on you. In order for me to continue making fun of the Gurjaras, I need them to lose here. So I really need you to pay attention to your camel archers, boOmstik. You really gotta pay attention to these camel archers, or it's gonna be a problem. Alright. We lost a lot of them. We lost a lot of these camel archers. Maybe microing at the front is trebbing down a castle in the middle here. But there's still 90 Gurjara camels on the field. We're down to only 45 camel archers, and we're making pikemen. And we're losing more camel archers. All those camel archers died in the north. Ooh, boy. Oh, boy. Oh, jeez. boOmstik playing with one hand, maybe. You know, you gotta have your priorities straight, you know? Still is okay, though. Eco is still stronger for boOmstik. Still 40 camel archers. Res in the bank is still looking pretty solid. Ullah. I mean, the eco is still strong, right? You don't need a ton of food for the Gurjaras. Well, I guess you do need a ton of food if you're strictly making camel riders, despite the 25% bonus. Chakrams. I love chakrams. I don't know if that's the way. I don't know if this is the play. You really need a lot of chakrams. You need like 40 chakrams before they start feeling overpowered, in my opinion. And if you have 70 to 80 camels on the field, you're not going to get to 50 chakrams. That's just the way that it is. I know the thinking is that they can go through the pikemen, right? But I don't know if the pikemen is something you really need to adjust your game plan over, if we're being honest. Now it is Ullah's turn to start to treb at the front. This is not a great place to have your camel archers patrolling, but it's fine. Imagine if these were elite cannon galleons. Imagine how many kills they would get on these camel archers. Okay, Ullah wants to fight. He's been tiptoeing around these castles all game long. Now he says, we're going in. He snipes trebs. He's really selling out for this castle. Is this worth it? The chakrams can also do good damage if the camel archers all, like, stack up back here, right? But Ullah has lost, like, 40 camels. And the castle is still up for boOmstik. I think that was a terrible fight for Ullah. He was nervous all game about taking that fight, and maybe this is why. Castle will fall. But was that worth it? We're down to 20 camel riders. Now we're making Gurjara Hussar, which also does not feel great against the Berbers. Down to 140 total population. All of our gold units are gone. And I think that was a really, really good hold by boOmstik. It's not over yet by any means. Ullah still has gold control long term. But that was a good start for boOmstik to push out here. Yeah, man, this is so gutsy. Gurjara's get heavy demo, yes? That's crazy. I would never put my camel archers there in a million years, bro. This isn't a good fight. boOmstik really wants to snipe these trebs, but he's taken so much damage. It was just Hussar as well, but he was just kind of sitting in there, surrounded by Hussar. Now the demos arrive for Ullah. A little bit too late. They would have done such good work 30 seconds ago, but alright, it's good to have them for next time. It's fine. Camel archers are just so good, man. This is my favorite unit in the game, by the way, camel archers. They're so good. It's tough to know how to deal with them. Oh, demos! Demos! That's one way to deal with them. Alright, it's fine, it's fine. boOmstik's paying attention this time. Doesn't deny the castle, was trying to for a while there, but backs up now. I think boOmstik can play the long game now. I think he can. Ullah's down to 67 villagers. He's lost so many vills here at the front trying to take this gold. And he continues to. And I don't think 50 villagers is enough. The eco is a disaster for Ullah. It's all food. Which, to be fair, it's all Hussar. So what else do you need, I guess? But that's not going to take out this camel archer mass. And what can I say? Gurjaras just don't have it. All that early damage. And maybe Ullah should have taken a fight earlier off the back of all that damage, right? We talked about the lull that happened in the middle of this game. Ullah really did not want to take a fight inside the base with his camels. But maybe he should have. Just kind of allowed boOmstik to get back into the game, right? And I do think the Berbers have the better unit composition here. I'm still really nervous that boOmstik dances around this water so much, because if these camel archers die, it's genuinely could be a game-losing throw for boOmstik. There's very little gold left on the map, so replacing these camel archers is virtually impossible. And it's not the best trash matchup in the world for the Berbers, really. It's okay, but well, maybe it is okay, actually. It's only spears for Gujaras, right? So maybe it's fine. I don't know. All right, let's see. Hussars are gonna try and take this fight. Camel archers are through running. Maybe a little micro. They are putting in the business on these Hussar, though, man. Hussar might snipe some Trebs. They are killing the camel archers. It's not the worst fight in the world, but the castle does go up for boOmstik. This is kind of important gold at this stage. Trebs are going down. But the issue is there's no eco behind to replace these, right? If Ullah was on like 100 villagers still, then that probably would have been a really good fight to take. But even the Hussar are virtually unreplaceable at this stage. All right, GG. Thank you, boOmstik. The Gujaras do not get a win. I was a little nervous. There were a couple moments in here I got a little nervous. The start was a little shaky. There were a few more dead camel archers than I would have liked, really. But it all works out in the end. I appreciate that, man. Dumbest game of Div 2 so far. I liked that game a lot, actually. That was a really good immersion game. I think this was unironically the best immersion game we've seen so far in this tournament. Depending on how highly you rate the wood game, I suppose. But I really liked this. There were good demos. Pond control was actually quite important throughout this game. There was good raiding, good damage early, good holds. I think it was a really good game. And I know Otter really wanted Ullah to dive earlier. I think it might have been the same outcome just earlier. I don't know if, because like here, I don't have the hold on. Wait. We're gonna go back. I want to actually see this. Because I can't back up, but I can fast forward. I want to take another look at that moment where we really were wondering if Ullah was going to dive, right? Because he does great damage early. Again, it was still a great... I do want to be clear. This was a great defense by boOmstik. Only losing 2 or 3 villagers with all of this happening is very impressive. It's very impressive. All right, we're already getting there. Yeah, maybe this would have been the moment. Well, yeah, maybe this was actually the moment. I was thinking of a little bit later, but maybe this was the moment. Right? There's 41 camels over here. There's 10 more down here. There's another 10 somewhere on the field. It's only 15 camel archers. Maybe this is the moment you send the camels in. Like, I think Ullah had lost... Like, you can see in the KD, right? Ullah was losing a lot of camels underneath the castles, but maybe just tamping down a little bit longer would have been good. But I don't know. Then you're like, you're having to camp underneath 3 castles to idle out the eco. I'm not sure if that's worth it or not. I think there's an argument there. that maybe Ullah should have gone in right there. And there's another moment a little bit later on. Where is it? Is it here? No, not yet. Yeah, it's coming up here, right? He's moving in with the camels. boOmstik pulls back. And then here, Ullah decides to go back one more time. I don't think he should go in here. I think this would have been a mistake, right? What happens if he moves in here? He's still fighting underneath all the same castles. But now there's 50 camel archers here. They can wedge in all around these buildings. It's going to be a nightmare for the camels to try and engage. I think this would have been a mistake for Ullah. I think. I don't think you dive here. I think now he needs to play sides, tamp down, use the bigger military advantage to prevent all of the expansion from happening. And just keep doing that until you have enough to like start pushing with siege. But I do think maybe a little bit earlier would have been a decent engagement for Ullah. Maybe. It would have been a trade-off, right? Earlier it would have been a trade-off. I think this would have been a mistake. This would have been throwing your whole army away for nothing. Because what damage does he find here if he dives? There's nothing here. He's not going to kill the camel archers in here. There's virtually no villagers to lose in here for boOmstik because he only has 17 on the field anyway. So I don't think the value is here in this moment. But what do I know? But what do I know? I understand that one for Ullah. For sure. All right. Either way, boOmstik gets on the board. Reverse sweep potential. Berbers do win, which they should on immersion. Gurjaras lose. Classic Gurjaras. And it's interesting civs here now, man. It's really interesting civs now. We have two elephant, basically only elephant civs. We have the Vietnamese that often want elephants as well. Teutons feel pretty good against Burmese and Khmer. You probably don't... It depends with Vietnamese. Vietnamese is probably their worst matchup. Unironically, I think it's Aztecs over Malians here, right? We've got Sunburn and we've got Outcrop. Do we ever pick Malians here? Yeah, I think there wasn't enough siege for Ullah there, right? To then follow that up. Still had the military advantage, but I think instead of diving the castles and all of the military, I think you keep your camel mass alive and then get a bunch of trebs out and you can actually push the castles down with your better military, right? I think that's a read I agree with a little bit more. But everybody in chat knows better than I do, so what do I know? Yeah, boOmstik and Otter still have to play each other, right? I guess Otter still needs to play both of these players, right? I think you've only played Leaf so far, right, Otter? Is that true? So we've got most of Division 2 in chat right now. Maltar says the key was to dive when Boom had one castle up and then siege behind. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I know it's been tough for Otter. I'm not slamming Otter for not playing more games by any means. All right. Let's see where we are off to next. boOmstik also has the 2 home maps remaining, which is a good feeling. So we're primed for a reverse sweep, potentially. We're going on to Outcrop. Okie dokie. This is an interesting decision. If you go Teutons here, then you're stuck with Malians or Aztecs on Sunburn. Malians have been chosen on Sunburn a lot, but they've died a lot on Sunburn. And I don't know if they can survive the Elephant Rush on Sunburn. So do you go... do you go Aztecs here? And try to survive with the Teutons on Sunburn? That feels bad though, right? Aztecs feel miserable on Outcrop, I think. So do you go Teutons here? It's probably Vietnamese for Ullah, but it could be anything at this point. Like I said, elephant rushes on Outcrop are not uncommon. My assumption is it's going to be Vietnamese here for Ullah, and then like Khmer, or I actually don't know. I think Khmer I favor a little bit more, maybe a little bit more than Vietnamese, or a little bit more than Burmese on Sunburn. But then you're having to wait for ballista elephants as part of that composition, I guess. That's tough, actually. I think it should be Vietnamese here, I think, really. And I guess I'll say Teutons, because I don't think you can go Aztecs here. And I don't... You could maybe make an argument for Malians on Outcrop, but... I'm so Malian averse in this tournament now. It's just been negative reinforcement after negative reinforcement on the Malians for me this tournament. And I think boOmstik just said something I want to highlight here. Can we get more water next season? Yes, please! More water! We have one water map in this pool, and then kind of a few others, kind of. We need more water. Give me more water. Bring the swamp back. Bring the, what else? I really liked... I'm forgetting what the name of it was now. Not Mudflow, I don't think, is it? Where all the wood is in the middle of the map on the water, and then it's like raised bases on the outside. Is that Mudflow? I can't remember what it's called. So as a water enjoyer, I agree with that. Water is not well balanced. And it's all about demos. Well, see, that feels like you're saying a bad thing and then a good thing. I love demos. I love demos. All about demos is great. I understand the arguments against water. And, you know, eventually they're going to roll out this water overhaul, and then we'll have to figure out where we're at with water. It might not be all about demos anymore, for one thing. But, yeah. I'm a water enjoyer. I know I am in the vast minority of Age of Empires players writ large that enjoy water, but I do like water. Alright, let's get into Outcrop. See what the guys are cooking up. And alright. My predictions have been pretty good today, actually. I must have a good vibe check on these players. Welcome in Game 4. Ullah versus boOmstik. We are on Outcrop. And it is indeed the Vietnamese for Ullah and the Teutons for boOmstik. Okay, it's an interesting Civ matchup, right? Vietnamese, they want to play like Halb Rattens and then probably Bombard Cannons. Teutons, they want to go SO, Paladin, Halb maybe. Maybe like Scorpions. Maybe their own Bombard Cannons situationally. Vietnamese also have access to Cav Archers, which is really good on this map. It's going to be tough to play Cav Archers long-term against the Teuton Death Ball. Still will take good map control that way, but we'll see. Otter calls the Cav Archer meta an SO breaker. And we have seen Cav Archer play do quite well against SO Civs in this tournament. So maybe they do well here as well. Battle Elephant's on the way for Ullah. A little bit housed, but is getting the houses up, so not a huge deal. boOmstik, early expansion on the sides, funnily enough. I said Vietnamese with the Cav Archers are good for map control here, but it's actually the Teutons getting good map control. Nice snipe in the base. 2 Cav Archers slip through the military and snipe 2 villagers in the back of boOmstik's base. Deny the castle, deny houses as well, and boOmstik is housed. So that's kind of massive. Cav Archers flowing in. Scorpions being added in first for boOmstik, who is still housed. Okay, there we go. House is coming up now. Paladin run into the elephants, which is not ideal. Vietnamese don't have any elephant bonuses, right? Oh, they do, yeah. Huge HP bonus. How am I forgetting? My RM brain is like, no bonuses. So these are chonky boys. They've got the funny number HP. So they should do quite well against the Paladin. I don't know how much that HP matters once SO comes out, but theoretically it can't hurt, I guess. Chonkers are rolling through. Nice quick wall there by boOmstik on both sides. Stable quick wall. And has had the northern TC denied. Southern TC goes up A-OK. No expansion at all here from Ullah in the south. And he's kind of chilling out, right? Usually you want to go fast with elephants. Let's see. The siege onagers have hit the field. They're a little bit too far forward. They do get good hits in on the elephants and on the bombard cannons, but they do go down to the halb. So a little bit of a give and take there. Elephants are slowly circling their way into boOmstik's base. And might find some damage back here. They'll at least delay that town center. These are not war elephants, so they don't get quite so much bonus damage against buildings like the Persian ones do. But they can still camp out underneath all this stuff for quite a while with 420 hit points. More castles going up, though. Halb coming out. Teuton Halb still does pretty good work against elephants. Here comes the Cav Archers again. Could find more villager snipes, but they don't want to sit underneath the long-range castles here, probably. Or maybe they do. Maybe they will just sit back there. Big fight in the middle. Bombard cannons trying to snipe the SO. And doing a pretty good job so far. Paladin are rolling in. Trebs take out boOmstik's Trebs, but will go down as well. Bombard cannons have to back up from the Paladin. But not too bad of an engagement for Ullah, I don't believe. Losing the siege sucks, but still with the bombard cannons, still with the elephants and the Cav Archers, those are most of your expensive units. And more bombard cannons going down here. expansion tries to get going now for Ullah, but that is denied by Paladin. Really nice job there by boOmstik, leaving those units down there. Castle survives. Great snipes in here by Ullah. Really good bombard cannon micro. And I like this too. Sends a couple elephants in. Oh, really good bombard cannon shots, actually. The castle will fall. Vietnamese castles aren't the chonkiest. But the push continues regardless. Cav archers putting in the work against the Halb. Still don't really want... Yeah. It's a lot of units you need out here as Ullah, right? You need so many different units. The elephants can't really stay in a fight against the... Those are good shots. Can't really sit around and fight the Halb. So you also need your own Halb just to be in front of the Cav archers. It's really tricky. Full southern control for boOmstik. Still has not gotten into the north, where Ullah has some eco set up. But it's all about center push so far. Sometimes this map is all about the sides, and there's no focus in the middle whatsoever. And sometimes it's all middle focus and nothing on the sides. Vietnamese light cav. I suppose just to snipe the siege. They aren't really providing any other value here. But this is kind of the issue, right? This is what I asked at the beginning of this game. How did the Vietnamese stop this death ball push by the Teutons if they're going cav archers? Okay, cav archers are in the south. They do allow Ullah to get this TC up at the very least, but it's not saving the base. Light cav. Halbs are out of position. They don't get anything. Alright, it was a good try. Even just making the siege back up is valuable here, right? Just delaying the push is really good for Ullah. Some deforestation here from boOmstik. Halbs. Say, okay, this is a fight I can get behind. boOmstik is actually just laming Ullah's wood, so playing for the wood game early, I like that. Playing for that wood game. This castle is going to evaporate, and there's no protection here, as the Paladin dove on the bombard cannons in the south. Cav archer is not really in a great position. And boOmstik says, alright, there's a lot up here, actually. And there is. There's 4 TCs. And 50 villagers. This is half of Ullah's eco is down here in the valley. So he's got to be a little nervous. But the elephants are here, the cav archers are here. Let's see if we can take a fight. Picking off these reinforcements is a good start for Ullah. And if the army dissipates around itself, could be valuable. Snipes here from Ullah. One onager goes down. This elephant poking away at a bombard cannon is not going to get it. First TC down. Here's the cav archers. Ullah has to be very careful not to eat the big one against these SO. But equally, boOmstik has to be careful not to throw away all the SO. Okay, there we go. It's fine. Rattan archers, not really... Normally, I'd say Rattan archers are great, but not really against this. Alright, here we go. Round 2, can the elephants snipe the siege? We really got to get this siege out of here. Cav archers are taking big hits, but the elephants wade in. There's not too many Halbs left. Not too many cav archers left, though. All the siege does go down besides the bombard cannons. So I think that was a necessary fight for Ullah to take there. But it was an expensive fight to take. It was an expensive one. Vietnamese champions now out on the field, which feels terrible against the Teutons. It's fine against, Halb siege, but man, long term that is not the unit you want to be making against the Teutons. And Ullah is pushing back in the south, so side control isn't too bad for Ullah. There's no center push anymore. It's all this fight here. So I actually don't hate Ullah's position long term. Just a matter of how much damage boOmstik can do with this one army, right? He can't swing sides, so he can send a few things down here, but realistically this army is never coming from up here to down here. So Ullah probably either needs to play sides, play mobility, get some raiding damage in, or has to somehow clear up this army. There's a lot of weak siege in here for boOmstik, to be fair. That's nice value. And Treb goes down the SO, kind of killing their own friends off a little bit here. Ullah calls the GG. I mean, I think boOmstik is winning right now. It feels a little bit early, but the raids were coming in really nicely. I guess this is the moment Ullah realizes he really can't clear up this push, right? Bombard cannons are going to take out this castle real fast. And this is, I mean, not the only gold accessible to Ullah, but he probably feels like he can't defend down here too, so I get it. I get it. All right. boOmstik ties it up 2-all as we head into our final game. This was pretty much perfectly played by boOmstik, I think. This is how you want to play this matchup. The fights were pretty much all won for boOmstik. Micro was good. Army control was solid. And, you know, Teuton's a little bit of a controversial civ. Some players really like them, some really don't, but they come good here. All right. Tie ball game in the fourth. And it all comes down to Sunburn. And it's going to be, what are we thinking? How are we feeling about these civs now? We've come a long way from the early stages of this series. Burmese and Khmer versus Malians and Aztecs. I kind of feel like it's Aztecs here. I kind of feel like it is, right? I think there are a lot of reasons to pick the Malians, but I kind of like the Aztecs. I kind of like the Aztecs. I think the Malians get rolled, but maybe not. I guess usually when I've seen the Malians get rolled on this map, it's because they're trying to, like, go full camel, like, kill them in the first 5 minutes against civs that doesn't necessarily work for. Can you kill the Khmer or the Burmese before they get their elephant mass up? I mean, it is possible. It is possible. It's a German thing. Yeah. Which civ is better here for Ullah? You see, does it even matter? Burmese and Khmer, they're probably both just making elephants, right? So it probably doesn't necessarily matter to boOmstik. Frost would pick Malians? Probably. Malians are the better civ in most cases, right? Malians are like actually a meta DM civ, and Aztecs aren't for the most part, but I think there is an argument. A German would win with Aztecs. Okay. All right. Let's see if boOmstik is more German or Swedish. I think it's a bad matchup for the Malians. Somehow. Worse matchup for the Malians than the Aztecs. But, man. Alright. A little sad, but I think maybe that... I get it. I get it. Welcome in. Final game, decider match. Ullah versus boOmstik here in TDM6. We are on Sunburn, and it is the Burmese for Ullah up against the Malians for boOmstik. And, well, it's a good start. Quick wall failed, and a villager goes down for Ullah to the Farimba light cav. There's weak villagers in here. Another villager goes down. It's one barrack and a castle for Ullah. The opening is a travesty for Ullah, actually. Huge value with that opening scout, light cav. And now it's going to be Halb. And I assume camels, right? Deletes the market there after hitting the market, does boOmstik. It's not... Well, yeah, there's a lot of stables, okay. Oh, for some reason, this orientation of the scoreboard is confusing to me. Like, there's not much going on here for boOmstik, but it's Ullah. Oh, it's a disaster. Ullah can't get the castle up. He's got Farimba camels parked underneath his TC. And it might just be GG, honestly. I think it's over. Apparently, you can actually kill the Burmese before they get their elephant mass up. GG is called boOmstik. With the reverse sweep, we like to see those. No offense to Ullah. It's nothing against Ullah whatsoever, but we like reverse sweeps around here. That's just the way that it is. Aztecs could win like this too. Could they? I don't know. With what? Eagles? Full eagle spam? Your opening scout isn't finding 2 villager kills with the Aztecs, I don't think. Unless something really goes wrong. Yeah, that's the thing too, right? Sunburn is such it's such a crazy map that coming down, some players really do want the last game to be crazy. Some players really do not want the decider match to be crazy, right? I don't think Ullah wanted the decider match to be crazy. GG's to both players. That was an amazing set. I'm really glad that I cast this one. Both players played really, really well throughout the whole series. This was the only game that was super lopsided, right? All the others were at least progressed into the mid game and stuff happened there. So GG's. Can't open elephant here. And eagles are faster than champions. Yeah, but they're slower than everything. I guess boOmstik is making champions now. But the champions didn't win this game, right? It was the cavalry. So I don't know. You can't argue with results, I suppose. boOmstik comes out with the 3-2. Which is big, right? That's a really big outcome for boOmstik. Everything's been cast now for Division 2, right? I think we already looked. I think Otter and I think we already looked at Division 2 standings the other day, right? Is that true? I'm curious to see where we're at now.